Okay, welcome back to my channel. Today I was inspired to do a rant video about non-binary. I'm sure that will invoke absolutely no backlash and
I actually had to look up non-binary because I'd never heard the term before.
no hatred in the comments whatsoever. Um, what inspired me to do this was a conversation I was having with some supporters of mine on Discord. I have been playing games with some of you guys on Discord lately, which has been really fun. By the way, let me know if I should start a Twitch channel, a gaming
You definitely should. I would so subscribe to that in a heartbeat.
channel. I heard something about hot tub streamers over there. Like there's like a shortage of them or something. So maybe I can help with that. But anyways, so the supporters
It sounds funny, but I have no idea what a hot tub streamer is, so, what?
in the Discord were having a debate or discussion about non-binary. And it was basically a typical debate of like, is it valid? Is it not valid? Is it the same thing as being transgender? Is it not? What do you think about they, them pronouns? Yada, yada, yada. Typical.
Yeah, see, the only way I can interpret the description of a non-binary person is a a hermaphrodite, maybe? That's just what I get from the description that I found on Google. So I don't know. That's just how I'm interpreting it. So hopefully she'll give a better definition of what it means.
Debate. But what took me back a little bit was this one moment where one of the supporters was like, but you know what? We shouldn't talk about this. It probably annoys Blair because she doesn't like non binary people.
Blair doesn't care. Like she is the living definition of live and let live. You be you, and she'll be her, and I'll be me, and we'll just go on our merry way. I mean,
And and the reason I was taken aback was because the whole Blair hates non-binary people is definitely a narrative common among people who already don't like me and people who frankly don't watch my videos. Like you'll hear that from them. But I was like, this is someone who supports me and even agrees with me in my stances on this, saying that I like hate non-binary people. So clearly it warrants a video of me going in depth, my full opinions about non-binary people in one place rather than sound bites from this corner of the internet and this corner. And I heard Blair said this. Well, I heard she said this. Okay, well,
it's always best to get it from the horse's mouth. No matter what other people are saying, it's always best to get it from the horse's mouth. The he said, she said is BS. Just like, who was it that first said that? Tupac? I'm horrible at names, but yeah, I remember that song. He said, she said bullshit. Mm-hmm. It's true no matter what decade you live
let's just talk about it one on one or one on many in full. So this is what I said to my supporter, and I'll say it here. I don't hate non-binary people. Like I don't hate anyone actually who doesn't do harm to like animals, children, or people in general. And I
in.
actually think it's a bit of a childish interpretation to see someone with a differing opinion than you on a topic and think that automatically is born out of like hatred or anger or some ugly place. Especially when it's on a topic that is, let's be honest, only a few years old. No one was talking about non binary more than 5 years ago.
Yeah, see, I was born in 1984. I grew up in, two-person family, had siblings, never heard of the term non-binary. Just saying. It wasn't around when I was a kid.
If you are a non-binary person, for example, who wants to use they them pronouns and you meet me in real life and that's what you ask of me, I am not going to go out of my way to like not use those for you. I'll do my best to accommodate you. That's
Aren't they and them for multiple people? Like, is that what we're saying? Is that enough? Non-binary people are more than one person? How does that makes no sense? How does that even work?
done. Believe it or not, I have been in many situations with people who ask for that. I've done meet and greets all across the country where every type of person comes up and talks to me, and every type of person wants to have a conversation. And I'm not someone who like tries to hurt people or goes out of my way to disrespect people
Mm-hmm.
because I don't want that done to me. So I do my best. Do I understand it really? No, but I don't think I really have to like be nice to you. Do
Mm-hmm.
I think that it's
Exactly. Like, you be you. I'll respect you. You know, I'll respect what you want me to do. I don't have to understand it. But if that's the way you want me to talk to you or say who you are, that still doesn't make much sense to me. But you be you.
an unnatural way of speaking
Mm-hmm.
to with someone face to face use they them pronouns when you
Mm-hmm.
are clearly like
A
seeing them
singular
and like
person. Yeah.
subconsciously and consciously seeing characteristics of their actual biological sex. Like, yeah, I think it's an unnatural way of speaking, but I do it in those scenarios because I'm not trying to be mean, okay? Anything I've ever said about non binary people, and this is again, if you actually watch videos I've done on it or watch interviews I've done on it.
I haven't watched a whole lot of Blair. Um, I actually was completely unaware of who she was or is, until I watched Tom McDonald's Snowflake video, and somebody said that because I was actually expecting it to be Nova. I mean, I know the eyes were wrong, and the but in the mask and everything, I was expecting Nova with like contacts maybe, and so I had no idea who she was until somebody said that Tom McDonald had put a trans woman into his video, and I was like, oh, she's hot. And I mean, I thought that before, I knew that she was a trans woman. She's still hot as a trans woman. I'm just, that's just me. So,
Has always been that I don't have hatred in my heart for people who call themselves non binary. I do not think they are any less than me. I think they are
yeah, it has nothing to do with me or, with her. But in my opinion, it has nothing to do with me what you want to be called. Now, if it starts influencing my kids and my little circle and you try pushing that, that's a whole other story. But if it's just, if you're just being you and doing you and, we're just BSing and you want to they them, I might look at you weird because, let's be honest, it's weird. But I'll say okay and I'll go along with it. Just, yeah.
just different than me as a trans woman. I think that there is a difference between a non binary person who does not transition and a trans person who transitions. And I have taken issue with the like rabid insistence that non binary is the same thing as being a trans woman or being a trans man or being trans in general, and that it falls under the trans umbrella because I don't think trans should even be an umbrella. I
Trans is trans. There's no umbrella. Like, how can there be an umbrella? When you get the surgery, my understanding, this is just my understanding, is when you get the surgery or when you alter your appearance in order to look like the opposite sex, you're a trans. Period. There is no umbrella. It's a straight up and down line. You're trans. That I don't see how that can be.
that very clearly defined language is important and necessary to actual acceptance and progress for
Mm-hmm.
transgender people, and trying to squeeze as much as
For people everywhere, you have to be concise so people understand what you're saying. It doesn't matter if you are transsexual or gay or bi or poly or pan or any of that. You need to be precise, and you need to be ready for people like me who don't understand what the hell you're talking about. Because I will admit I don't watch the news. I don't watch TV very often. I am not political. I don't know a lot of crap that's been going on. I know that the world is going to hell in a handbasket. I kind of understand why a little bit, but I don't go on social media. I don't deal with the negative crap. And the world has just gone negative. So that's just what. Yeah.
as you can under the trans umbrella actually does way more harm than good. And frankly, I just don't think that having a gender identity that is in the middle, both, neither, above, below, any of that is the same thing as going from male to female or female to male. To me, this seems like such a simple and obvious delineation to make. And I've seen some other trans influencers try to have this conversation and try to communicate the things that I'm saying here, but they ultimately get shut down, get bullied, and ultimately end up backtracking on those opinions, at least publicly. Privately, they don't because they all message me. Okay? But I don't backtrack. Unless I'm actually wrong about something, I'm not going to backtrack. Is an Asian person saying that they have different life experiences than a Middle Eastern person automatically a bigot against that Middle Eastern person?
No.
I don't think so. Is a gay person saying they have different life experiences than a bisexual person automatically making them biphobic? I don't think so. But for some reason, you're labeled NB-phobic if you say that non-binary is simply different from my experience in my life as a trans woman. And I'm not going to fold on that just because people want me to. To me, it's as simple and as clear as day as saying that
I'm just streaming, dear.
my dog is not the same thing as my cat. He is out of frame, but they're different. They're both my pets, but they have very different needs. What my cat needs in his diet is not the same thing as what my dog needs in my diet. The things in which non-binary people and non-binary activists
in his diet, dear,
tend to advocate for are very different than what most trans women and trans men want. For example, a lot of non-binary activists definitely want to normalize asking people's pronouns and stating people's pronouns when you meet. They want it to be as common of a greeting as how are you. It should be, hi, my name's Blair and my pronouns are she, her, right? That is the world that a lot of non-binary people want to see, and they advocate for that, which is their right. However, for me, this is a very clear example of the divergence between binary trans people and non-binary people, which is we don't want to be asked our pronouns. We do anything and everything we can for them to be automatic. Like I transitioned so that I could walk into a room and people say she without me announcing it, asking for it, or getting into an altercation about it. I did not go on hormones, legally change my name and gender on my birth certificate, shave down the bones in my face and attach these breasts so I could walk into Walmart and someone say, what are your pronouns? Like that's actually pretty upsetting. My first real example of seeing this divergence between the goals of trans people and non-binary people was actually at the very beginning of my transition. When I went into a trans support group, it was like during the like mental fog of like the start of my transition, not knowing where to go, not knowing how to get this done, how do I legally change my name, how do I get surgery, how do I get on hormones. It was that very early stage, and I went in and I was expecting to be mentored and taught by trans people maybe a little older than me that knew the path. And what I actually got was a round table of, I presume, mostly identifying non-binary people telling me that the fact that I wanted to transition was inherently transphobic because it reinforces the idea that
oh, what? Wait. Say that again.
presume mostly identifying non-binary people telling me that the fact that I wanted to transition was inherently transphobic because
How is it transphobic to want to change your gender?
it reinforces the idea that men and women have different bodies and that I was automatically a woman simply by virtue of saying so. And you can imagine I'm sitting there with, like, at this point, debilitating gender dysphoria, not knowing where to go in life, and I'm being told that I am a problem because I want to transition. Meanwhile, I'm thinking, isn't that the whole fucking point of being trans? Like, why am I
Yes.
here? So again,
Yes.
those are completely two different ways of thinking when it comes to being trans or thinking of gender. Like, they just don't line up most of the time. And again, the idea that it's hatred for me pointing that out, I mean, I'm simply not going to be told who and what I am. I'm not going.
How is that hatred? That is just that's basic. It's just basic.
That I am a hateful person towards non-binary people or I hate a group of people simply because I notice and acknowledge and talk about the differences between the two groups. And I hate to use the word childish again, but it seems that there are a lot of very childish individuals who insert that I must feel like I am above non-binary people.
I have 5 children. Okay, they range from age 12 to age 3. My 3-year-old will run around in my daughter's clothes. I don't care. Okay, I don't care. He is 3 years old. My 12-year-old could run around in dresses and want to put makeup on, and I don't care. Okay? But my children know who they are. My children know that when you say they or them, you are talking about more than one person. When you say he, you are talking about a boy. When you say she or her, you are talking about a girl. I mean, why, why has this become such an issue? Why? I mean, do we not have enough to argue about? Do we not have enough to talk about? Do we not have more important things to figure out than this? I,
People or something because I have those views. I do not believe that I am worse, better, higher up on a totem pole than any other human being on this planet who puts their pants on one leg at a time like we all do. I do not believe that some trans people are up here and some trans people are here and non-binary people are here. I just don't. Unless you're Jessica and Eve. Like, she's at the bottom.
don't
And
know
I'm
who
okay with
that
saying
is.
that. And it's not about it being some special thing to be trans. It's not about, like, oh, this is a special label that you can't have. It's about trans people are still being thrown off buildings in a lot of parts of the world. There are still countries that I legally cannot travel to as a trans person. A lot of them.
Oh,
Like,
I didn't
until
know that.
that changes, can we just clearly define what trans is and, like, fight for acceptance based on what trans is? Because Courtney Stodden can go party in Dubai. I cannot. If I try to fly to Dubai, they'll put me in prison right off the plane.
I mean, we all fought. Well, the people who believed it all fought for gay rights and the right for gay people to get married and get divorced, and just as much as a straight person. I mean, that's my husband and I feel the same way. If y'all want to get screwed in court, it's your choice. I did go for it. I mean, why aren't we doing that? Why aren't we fighting for the right of a person who feels and has gone through the trauma and all the experiences to be a transgender so that they can be accepted? I mean, that seems like a much better cause than this they them crap.
Because I'm trans. If you don't see there's a difference there and that the difference is that's non-binary and this is trans, I don't know what else to tell you. It also is so confusing to me how for other, like, examples in the LGBT community, there is so much room for differences and nuance and different categories to the point where, like, if you called pansexual the same thing as bisexual, you will get lambasted, and that is a huge no-no, and you'll get in so much trouble for saying that, when in reality pansexual is closer to bisexual than non-binary is to being trans. And I know that some
Mm, in a sense, maybe. I mean, I can understand where the line could blur a little bit between bi and pan, but a bi person has only one partner of either sex, while a pan person has multiple partners of different sex. So, I mean, it is kind of the same thing, but it's really not.
non-binary people do claim to experience some level of gender dysphoria, and I respect that, and I feel for them, because if you have ever been unlucky enough in life to experience gender dysphoria, it is a son of a bitch. Like, it's awful. And some of those individuals do transition partially or fully, whatever their choice is, and I consider them trans. I look at
Never went through it. I've always known that I was a woman. I've That's just me. Um, I can I, I can empathize, not fully understand, but I can empathize with how just mind twisted it would be to be born in the wrong body. I can imagine, and I can empathize with it, but having not actually gone through it, I can't say I understand.
them as trans. I don't understand why they're still claiming non-binary, and it's not really my business why they're claiming non-binary. But if you have gender dysphoria and you're getting surgeries to alleviate it, like, you're trans. So, and some people
Mm-hmm.
may feel like it's unimportant to draw distinctions between the two and that it's just splitting hairs, but I completely disagree. I think that because the concept of transgenderism gets so heavily politicized, people like forget how serious of a topic it is. It entails, for a lot of us, really permanent surgeries. It
Mm-hmm.
involves, when it's a child, it involves male to female sterilization. It involves the very serious condition of gender dysphoria, which people literally kill themselves over. When you transition, you are changing the composition of your mind, your body, and your future
Mm-hmm.
entirely. It is
Mm-hmm.
not a small thing. A good example of this, I was speaking with one of my doctors. I've never publicly named him or shown him, so don't bother searching him up and harassing him. I was speaking to one of my doctors who's done a few procedures of mine. He works with a ton of trans patients, and he was saying that a few years ago, it would have been completely unheard of to have patients coming in without a diagnosis of gender dysphoria seeking breast removal or sex changes or, trans related surgeries, and that have not lived their life as a trans person before coming in. He says now he's having patient after patient after patient who comes in after a year or two of having they them pronouns or just identifying as non-binary, who want very serious permanent procedures done,
No.
and that he is having a hard time turning them away because he's getting backlash from the community, because he's being seen as transphobic for saying, I'm sorry, having they them pronouns is not good enough for me to cut off your breasts. Like, if you're
Mm-hmm.
not living as a trans man and have spoken to therapists and done the due diligence,
Mm-hmm.
he doesn't feel comfortable performing those surgeries on someone, because the only people he's had come in that have regretted these surgeries, everyone talks about regret, and all the trans activists say we shouldn't talk about regret or whatever, but like, the only people that have regretted their surgeries that he's done on them have been the non-binary people, have been the people who don't have that gender dysphoria diagnosis, who don't have the history of being trans. They come in after a year or so of like online discourse of having this identity online, and they end up asking for breast implants after getting their breast removed, or asking to reverse
Mm-hmm.
things that cannot be reversed. And he's thinking of leaving the practice, because what used to be helping genuine transgender people overcome gender dysphoria and live great lives and like fix their dysphoria and fix their issues has now become cosmetic surgery that people regret because they're not actually trans. And this is a doctor that sees hundreds of patients a week and is doing surgeries every day on the trans community. And this is why I feel it's so important to have these things clearly defined. And don't think for a second that because I'm one of the very few trans people who are willing to talk about this on video and be public within the community like I am, that I'm the only one that thinks this. And I think the way forward is to do more research into transgender brains. A lot of those studies have been deemed problematic, have been shut down by activists, because they don't want to acknowledge that there is a difference between transgender brains and brains of people who are not transgender, because that invalidates a lot of the other identities that get shoved into the transgender label. I would like for there to be a cure to gender dysphoria in my lifetime. No one ever talks about that, by the way. No one ever talks about the long-term solutions to this. No one ever talks about, could there be a world where without gender dysphoria? I want to know why I was born trans. I firmly believe that trans people are born trans. I was 4 or 5 years old, like feeling these feelings. Like, why is that? Like, did something go wrong in the womb? Did something go wrong in my super early development? Like, what happened? In the mind of a lot of non-binary activists, it has nothing to do with dysphoria or any sort of like neurological condition. It's just simply like gender's fake and we're all living in this like construct. And you know, you can only go so far with that when you start like noticing the actual brain differences between males and females and the brain similarities between trans women and women and trans men and men. All I know is that this climate has created a very unsafe environment for those studies to proceed, if you've noticed. Researchers are so scared of not being PC that they're not even doing those studies anymore. And I think that's ultimately harmful. So rather than seeing me having a different opinion than you on non-binary as like me trying to like erase the existence of non-binary people or just being hateful for the sake of being hateful, maybe like try to see people as people and not just your ideological enemies, and understand that I have these positions for a reason. Like, it is possible for people to have different opinions than you with good intentions. Like, this is not a Disney movie. This is not evil people versus good people. But that's it for this video. You guys, say back to anyone the next time you see them saying that I hate non-binary people. So stupid. I love you guys. I'll see you in the next video. Make sure you subscribe to this channel as well as my second channel. Go watch my bikini haul video I just posted
Which is Blair Black, by the way.
on there. Follow me on Twitter and Instagram because I post on there way more than I do on here. So you have to follow those to keep up with me. And I'll see you in the next video. Bye, guys.
Okay, so after watching this, I think I understand that the they them pronoun is for those who are in the midst of transition into transgender. Yes? No? Did I completely miss the ball on there? Yep. Oh. Okay. Well, that was my late night ranting and talking and all that fun stuff, and yeah. So, bye.